Hey there, folks. Coming at you with this week's market wrap video. Hope you had a fantastic week trading. What a pretty incredible week it was. Last week I had moved the caution flag back from red to orange, and listen, it's difficult to keep the caution flag out. I am going to keep the caution flag out though, and we've gone from orange now to yellow. Look, it's hard to deny the strength that the market is showing. The jobs report today gave the market a little bit of fuel to move higher in an impressive way. We closed at all-time highs, I believe, in the S&P 500. We're nearing, or we are moving higher in the Nasdaq. Closed nearly at the high of the day. SMH had a really nice move. The IBB back over a key level. We'll get to that in a minute. Um, a lot of impressive action in the markets today. Now, listen, I've had concerns about the fact that, you know, we've had these safety trades, gold, silver, utilities, that have also been moving higher. And, what is that signaling to us? And listen, we're going to find out really next week if this market can continue to power higher and have some kind of an impressive run, um, taking out all-time highs. And we're going to find that out through earnings, right? We start earnings next week. Alcoa kicks us off, but then we get a boatload of financials, which I think will be pretty interesting. And it's difficult to see the market really powering higher without financials participating. But you know what? Honestly, I've never seen a market like this. So anything, I suppose, is possible. So let's just look at what happened this week and see if we can kind of figure out where to be next week. So I mentioned several weeks ago, actually probably 4 weeks ago, that I had raised cash, and I've had a pretty good cash position throughout this whole time period. I have taken some short-term trades, but for the most part, I'm still pretty heavy in cash. And listen, I'm okay with being there, right? I mean, in my mind, cash is a very viable position. May have missed some things, and look, I've watched some stocks climb that I really wanted to get involved in, like Activision just continues to climb higher. I wanted to be able to get involved in that for a long-term hold on any kind of a significant pullback. Not happening. MGM actually holding up fairly well. Another stock that I'd like to get into. LNG, one that we just talked about in the stocks to watch list this weekend. Like to get involved in that one. I have my price that I want to get into it at, and it just didn't happen. So, listen, I'm a patient guy. My belief is that if you're going to win in this game, it's about longevity and going to cash. Maybe I missed some decent opportunities, but I'm okay with it, right? If this is if this is for real, if we're really going to take out all-time highs and go on some kind of, if we're going to break out of the range that we've been trading in over the last 2 years, so be it. I will find opportunities in that breakout, and I will participate. So I'm comfortable with where I'm at. So, the NASDAQ is coming up. Looks like we're going to go up and potentially test 5,000, right? And 5,000 right in that area has been an area of resistance. So, but we closed nearly at the high of the day here. We came right up into that trend line. It looks as though we're probably going to power through it. Unless something radical happens over the weekend that changes the dynamics of everything once again, right? I'm not all that crazy about the fact that we have this jobs report. We'll see. 1 month doesn't make a trend. The thing I think is going to really matter next week or up in the coming weeks is going to be earnings, and that's going to set the tone for us. We talked about it last week, though. A lot of companies are coming up into some very favorable comps. So, if they can beat on the top line and the bottom line, look, maybe this turns out to be a real deal. So we'll see. So Nasdaq coming up into 5,000. Look for us if we can break through there with conviction. You know, we likely will continue higher. Let's take a look at the IBB, which really was pretty impressive uh, all week, and even with Juno, you know, Juno coming out with that the bad news after the close yesterday. The IBB really managed to hold up well. You know, we got back above. We came down. We kissed this 240. Now we have a very clearly defined area of support in the IBB at 240. Right, bounced off of that for a nearly like a third time here, basically. Right, uh, bounce, bounce, bounce in from this range. Now we broke above 265, 263 in that area. And coming up into that area that we've tested so many times before, this 271, 272 area, right? We closed right at it at the end of the day, and look how many times this has acted as resistance. So, listen, if we can power, I would like to see us consolidate here before we try to take this out. And then, you know, if we do consolidate here and take it out, maybe we take out this trend line as well. Look at this long-term trend line that we would be taking out as well. And then I think maybe you go up and you do a 300 test somewhere in that range. 289, 287, 289 is going to likely be an area of resistance once again. What we don't want to see, though, is, so, you know, we had a lower high here, right? Let's just say, okay, we came down here and made a low, came back up, made a lower high, right? We made a lower low. Now, if we make a lower high, find some resistance there, and then come down and make a lower low, that is going to be problematic for the IBB. Okay? Let's see what happens next week. If we can take out 275 with real conviction, we take out that trend line, go back up and test 287, 289 in that area, and then consolidate, maybe build up some energy before we take that out and go test 300 or so. That would be pretty healthy. But we really need to take out that 280, that 289, 290 with conviction and make a new high, right? So that's what we'd like to see in the IBB, but very impressive action this week. Let's see if it can continue next week. IWM, 115 has been the spot that we've been really paying close attention to. And, you know, we broke below it, and then we came back up. We were testing, and now we closed back above it again, nearly at the high of the day. 118 looks like the spot that we're heading to next, right? If we can go up and test 118 and take that out with some conviction, where can we find our next area of potential resistance? Should be somewhere around 120, okay? But 118 is the first spot that we need to try and take out. Labu, if you know, had a nice little run this week, and we could see some follow through if the IBB continues. So that's something to keep on your radar. Mid caps had a really nice look to it, right? Coming up into an area potential price resistance. See if it takes it out and make some new highs, right? I mean, we're not too far. Oops. Let me back it out to the weekly here. Let's see. May not let me. Let's see if we can go back to the daily and see what that shows us there. No, that's not going to show me. All right. So basically, what are we looking at? 280. If we could take out 281, 282 in that area, we're making all-time highs for the mid caps. So I mentioned SMH, really nice week this week, right? coming back up into that area at $58 of potential resistance, 58.50, somewhere in that range. If we wind up taking out 58.50, it looks like maybe we're going to go up and test highs for the SMH at around 60 or so. Let's see. So I like the semiconductor space. I actually traded and took and still have some shares of KOPN, which is a semiconductor I've been playing around with for last couple of months. But it had a pretty nice move. I would have liked to have seen it close above $2.50, but it's okay. I like the semiconductor space. Looking for this potentially to go up, test around 263 or so, and see how it acts there. But definitely keep an eye on the semis. Let's go take a look at the transportation. So, transportation gave us that little scare. Pierced the lower Bollinger Band. It has popped back up now, coming up into potential price resistance right around 45. Closed there. Look, if the transportations continue to move higher, maybe get some snapback in the airlines. Coming up into that trend line, you're probably going to see a little bit of resistance, but if you take that out, transportation looks like it could potentially go higher. Retail had a nice little bounce. Gap reported last night, actually reported decent numbers. Retail actually looks like maybe it could take out the 200-day moving average, right? If it takes out the 200-day, maybe it comes up and tests. This is a very long-term trend line that it's been trading below for quite a while. Back this out to the weekly, and you can see that long-term trend line there. Look, if it takes out the 200-day moving average, maybe it comes up and tests this long-term trend line, tries to retake that. Go back to the daily. So oil and gas had an interesting week, right? We had a pretty significant pull in oil. We had rig counts came out today, added some rigs. So there wasn't as big of a drawdown in supply. That was kind of what hit us with oil. The dollar actually is continuing to consolidate. It hasn't really done much. It hasn't gone down, hasn't gone up. It's just consolidating. And I think, look, it really kind of depends on what happens with gold and oil as to what happens with the dollar, right? I mean, look, Brexit apparently is no big deal. I thought it was going to be a bigger deal than it turned out to be. And like I've said, I said last week, look, it's going to be months, it's going to be years, really, before we understand the true impact of the Brexit vote. And I guess the market is just kind of putting that to the side, right? So we'll see how this market reacts over the next, we'll see how it reacts over earnings. I mean, that's the big deal right now. XME, metals and mining, I mean, very nice break. Pointed this one out last week as an area looked like it wanted to potentially break out of this range, and looks as though it would like to go higher. Consumer discretionary broke out over this trend line, closed nearly at the high of the day. I mean, we're looking at some really impressive breakouts and some impressive strength technically. XLV, healthcare, another one that closed really at the high of the day, right? Closed over this potential price resistance. Looking for the next area of potential resistance, and we're looking probably around 75 or so before we maybe run into a little bit more resistance there. Utilities had a one-day pullback. Actually, was that a one-day? Yeah, a one-day pullback, and then it bounced, right? And had a nice little snapback. I mean, listen, what these markets are doing is we've been trained to buy the dips, buy the dips, buy the dips for 8 years, and we continue to be trained to do that. I mean, these vicious V-shaped snapbacks are absolutely phenomenal. I mean, it's a remarkable market, and how long this continues, I don't know. You just have to try and take advantage of it while it's here. So, but you know, the point is that we have been trading in a range really for a couple of years, and we haven't had a clearly dominating trend, right? I mean, it's just been trading in a range. So maybe, you know, maybe this is us breaking out. Maybe we're going to get some kind of a parabolic, you know, blow off top, and that will be the signal then that maybe we get, that's when we get some type of a reversal. But uh, utilities, like I said, had a little pullback and then a nice little snap. We already talked about tech. Aeros or industrials look really good. One in particular looks really fantastic. GE looks great on the daily. Let's just bring it up real quick. You know, I'll be honest with you. This is another one that I was hoping to get for my long-term portfolio, but I wanted to buy it on sale. Could have got it in the $29 range, and I didn't take it, and I should have. Nice little bounce, but you know, it's testing highs and looking as though it wants to grind higher. Now, this is a big, thick stock. You know, this isn't something that you want to take for a day trade. This is something you probably would prefer to have in your longer term hold portfolio. But, you know, it's difficult for me to take it up here at $32, $33. I would prefer to buy it down at 29 or even lower. You know, it'd be really great to get down to $27 range, somewhere around there, 28 bucks, something like that. But may not happen. You know, Honeywell is another one that looks pretty darn good, right? Looks like it wants to go make some new all-time highs. So industrials look really strong. Let's take a look at the financials, which, you know, this will be a big deal, I think, next week. We'll see. I mean, the financials did fairly well today, right? Coming up into this trend line, probably going to wait on earnings. The big thing with the financials is, you know, with the low interest rates, how are they making any money? So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens with the financials towards the latter part of next week. Energy, like I said, you know, oil itself had a little bit of a pullback and really didn't act all that well this week. We did get those rig counts did increase, but it held. But the XLE, the energy names, actually held up fairly well today, or fairly well this week, even though we had that pullback in oil. So, not giving up on the energy names, but I still think you need to be pretty cautious there. Building materials and home builders both had a really nice pop this week. Look at home builders, XHB coming right up into this area of resistance, potential $35 roll. If it can take out 35 with conviction, home builders could be a nice space to be in. And let's see what else we got. We already talked about biotech and aerospace and defense. You know, I've talked about the fact that aerospace and defense, you know, to me just are great long-term hold sectors, or great long-term hold stocks, you know, stocks like Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, Northrop Grumman. But those are the ones that, you know, I also felt were due for a bit of a pullback. And look at them. I mean, they look like they want to continue to go higher. So, in aerospace and defense also looking really strong. Let's take a look at USO real quick, right? So we did break this short-term trend line here. We came down basically and tested. That's the 100-day simple moving average. Seems to be acting as support. We'll see what happens next week with oil. But you know, if oil continues to decline, I think it will be challenging for the energy names. Let's take a look at something else here that really kind of stood out at me. The high yield and junk. Big old pop right? Consolidation, now popping. Let's take a look at HYG, right? Popping, actually Pearson, the upper Bollinger Band took out 85. It looks as though potentially wants to go higher. Let's look at gold. I mean, here we are, right? I mean, the market takes off. The employment number is good, and you would think that that would have pulled, that would have crushed gold and the precious metals after the move that it just had. And it didn't. I mean, it actually moved with the market, which is unreal in my mind, actually. GDXJ, right? GDX, continue to grind higher. Uh, at some point, I do believe, I really truly believe that JNUG and Nugget, where are they? Hold on a second. Probably need to, Nugget, okay, and JNUG. Let's go check out JNUG. These things are unbelievable, right? I mean, they're unbelievable. And I do really think that at some point, that party is going to end. When that happens, I have no idea. But at some point, that party is going to end, and it could end badly. But right now, I have to say, it actually looks as though they want to continue to move higher. But I would be very, very cautious playing in that space. Let's see what else. What else? What else? What else? Oh, let's take a look at that dollar real quick. We were just talking about the dollar. I just want to show you that really quickly. Look at the dollar. It's just been consolidating, right? And then we get this indecision candle right here. We'll see what happens next week with the dollar, if it breaks higher or if it breaks lower. But it's consolidating after that nice little pop that we had from the Brexit vote. It really hasn't done much sense. But I think that's something that you need to keep an eye on. Cybersecurity actually looks pretty good. We just had CUDA, which reported earnings that were better than expected. Cybersecurity coming up, taking out an area of potential resistance here with hack. Stocks within the cybersecurity. There's the CYBR. There's FTNT, Palo Alto Networks, PAMW, and of course FireEye. Looks as though the sector is maybe getting ready to break out of an area of potential resistance. That could be good for those stocks in that sector, so probably worth keeping an eye on them. And I think that's really it. Bottom line is it was a very impressive day. The caution flag is no longer orange; it's moved to yellow. I did say I was going to keep the caution flag in place, but it's hard to deny the strength of the market, and we had a pretty impressive close. Let's see what earnings season brings us next week, right? We start off with Alcoa, which actually had a nice little pop today. Alcoa was up, what, 5% today, up 46 cents to close at 9.80. Nice little move. If they have a good earnings report, maybe it takes out $10. But it's going to be an interesting week next week. And technically, we are in a very, which could be potentially bullish area. We'll see. We'll see if we can take this out with conviction. It definitely caught me off guard. I'm not ashamed to say that. It is what it is. I mean, if I knew exactly what the market was going to do, I probably wouldn't be doing these videos, right? I'd probably be living on an island somewhere. I don't know. Who knows what I'd be doing if I had that crystal ball. But anyway, that's it. I will be doing my stocks to watch for next week. I have a lot to go through, a bunch of stocks to go through. I got a big watch list to filter through here. This was this week's stocks to watch list. Did have some nice movers on here. AVXL, SXCP, Colemane. That actually got even higher. That had a nice little pop this week. AGN. So I had some decent movers in there. Nothing like the likes of let's see, DGLY and what was the other one? LEDS, right? Those were some pretty crazy day traders out there, but still some decent trades this week. So we'll be doing stocks to watch on Ticker TV Sunday, 8 a.m. Vegas time. If you can't make it, send me, and you've got some stocks on your list, send them to me, and I'll do my best to get them on the stocks to watch video. Okay? All right. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and if you can make it Sunday, I'll see you Sunday. If you can't, then I'll see y'all next week.